everybody, coming to you from my 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. Got about 2,150 miles on it. I bought it new about 3 months ago. It had like maybe, I don't know, 7 or 11 miles on it when I got it. The salesman told me it came right off the truck. And was not test driven by anybody, which, you know, I think a smart dealer knows that people buying cars like this don't want them to be test driven as a general rule. Now, they don't all subscribe to that, but as a buyer, I appreciate that. They did actually let me test drive it around the parking lot because I wanted to get the feel of the clutch and just kind of the general feel overall. I mean, you can figure out how it's going to drive even with just a loop around the parking lot. So after about a 30-second test drive, I was like, okay, let's go ahead and make this happen. So since then, I have been figuring out by driving it for 3 months that I really can't explain exactly why I like this car so much. I'm going to try. I mean, I'm just going to talk about the little things that I've noticed having driven this for 3 months and how they all add up to this just being an amazing car. So some of them are a little hard to classify. So number one, I want to talk about how this car just feels special. There's just something about the way that it's put together, the way all the pieces come together to make the whole package that really just makes this something special. Just the feel. Okay, let's talk about the steering feel. It's not many cars I've driven in my life that have this level of connection to the driver. I know this has the electronic power steering, but somehow they're able to make it communicate to the driver and connect the driver to the car and to the road in a really amazing way. I mean, I just feel so at one with this car. The idiot in the back of me has their bright lights on. I'm gonna flip the mirror. So, you know, the other thing is just the interaction with the clutch, the gas pedal, the shifter. It is all so just precise. I mean, it's like it's engineered to such a high standard. And the clutch take-up or the clutch release point is exactly where you would want it to be. I mean, that's the only way I can really try to describe it. The level of grab, how it grabs, how progressive it is, it's all just perfect. I mean, the way they designed this, it is so obvious that they drove this car. The engineers drove this car and tweaked it and tuned it when they were designing it. You know, it shines through that passionate people were involved in designing and building this car. You know, this car is built on a special assembly line. I want to say it's in the same factory that they used to build the LFA. So a lot of that special car DNA comes through in this car. And again, it's just really hard to describe. And it's not something also that becomes immediately apparent until you've driven it for a while and owned it for a while and lived with it for a while. The 3-cylinder engine has a really unique exhaust note, and first it took my ears some getting used to when I first got the car, but eventually I got used to it, and it now makes sense to my ears, for lack of putting it any differently. In the same way with the ride, this car, it's not a smooth, luxurious ride, but it's not supposed to be. I mean, it's not harsh, but it is firm. You may see my camera shaking all over the place. That's because it's picking up all the little nuances of the road. And even sometimes on the highway, when I hit a little bump, it'll trigger my sensor in my dash cam. It'll think there's a crash, so, but you get used to it. It gets to the point where you really don't even notice it, and it's just part of the experience. And as far as reliability goes, it's what you would expect, so generally speaking, Toyotas are reliable. But I think this car is actually built to an even higher standard. Oh my goodness, there's a bunch of new E-classes. Oh, that's so cool. There was a truck. I didn't get a chance to turn my phone. The new 2024 E-Class just came out, and I'm hoping to see one of those pretty soon. But anyway, yeah, so the engineers, the builders that put this car together, they obviously care for their work, and I think this car, I'm even going to say it's overbuilt. I'm highly confident that at 100 or 200 or even 300,000 miles, this car is not going to need any major work. Other than just regular maintenance items. So it just gives a certain special sense that you can't really explain. So I would definitely have to say, if you are even remotely considering one of these, I absolutely highly recommend it. I've had a lot of sporty cars before. I had a WRX. I had a 3 Neon SRT4s. I've had a few other like German higher end cars that are more on the sporty side. More recently I had an Elantra N, and those were all fine cars, but I found myself in short order just ready to get rid of them. Usually with a car like that, after about 3 months, I'm done. I'm ready to let it go. In fact, I did keep my Elantra N for 6 months, but I only put 1,500 miles on it in 6 months. It never really had an occasion to drive it. And eventually I sold it for slightly less than what I paid for it. I was happy with the way that worked out. I ended up trading that on my GLK. So I got the GLK and a little bit of money, so that actually worked out pretty well, because I've really enjoyed my GLK. But I don't know, this car, I never really intended to drive this as much as I have been, but for those of you who have seen some of my videos, I have multiple cars, and more I find myself picking this car as the one I want to hop in and drive. And the other thing too, the seat it's okay. It's not exactly the most comfortable seat I've ever sat in, but it's fine. Now I will say, this is not the best car for a, let's say, 3-hour trip. Anything an hour and less is fine, but you do start to get a little bit of road fatigue after about 3 hours. But again, that's not the reason I bought this car. This wasn't intended to be a long distance road tripper for me. I have other cars for that. Also, my Versa is a really good road tripping car, surprisingly comfortable. But yeah, so I just wanted to try to put into words what makes this car so special. It just really has a special feel. If you own one of these, I'd like to hear your comments about what you think of it. If it feels special to you, your general thoughts and all that. I have the core model, and it's the core model with every option on it. If there is a nit, I do have to say the JBL audio system really disappoints. Even though I know JBL does put out some good stuff, it's not in this car. But I really don't have an occasion to listen to it. This car was sitting on the lot, and it just happened to be available, and I snagged it up. I mean, it was pretty much a no-brainer. That's really it. I mean, I can't really think of anything I don't like about this car. Okay, yeah, I'll say there's one more thing is, in certain conditions, like for example, say you're going through a parking lot in first gear and you're at a certain RPM, it can be extremely boomy in the car. I mean, not to the point of like necessarily hurting my ears, but close. But you know, you just shift gears, or you take it out of gear and coast or whatever. And the only other thing I really don't recommend you do, sometimes I'll have a passenger and I'll be sitting idling, and if the rear door, particularly the one on the right side, is opened while the car is idling, that also causes that boominess to happen. But yeah, again, these are just such minor things, and you just don't do those things that cause those situations, and you don't even have to deal with that. The radar cruise control in this car is quite good, and it has the automatic steering, or they call it lane tracing assist. It's good. I mean, I'd say it's every bit as good as the one that was in my Honda Civic, and that one was top notch. Way better than what you'd find in a Mercedes-Benz, at least based on my experience with that sort of thing. Mercedes-Benzes that I've driven that had that, they'll basically bounce back and forth from the left white line to the right white line, and just back and forth, or sometimes it'll just jerk the steering wheel when you get a little bit to the right. This one, I still get a little nervous when I'm passing a truck like that, but so far, I mean, it's just been great. It did that turn on its own. You do have to, every 10 to 15 seconds, have to just kind of go like that on the steering wheel so that it thinks you're holding it. It's not capacitive. It's actually, you actually have to jerk the steering wheel a little bit for it to realize. So, you know, after about 10 seconds, it brings up that warning. Then after about 5 more seconds, it starts beeping. And then I just jerk it, and then it's fine again. So it does make for a pretty good experience with that. My Elantra N, I want to say it had the steering assist, but it did not have the adaptive cruise, which I thought was kind of weird that they didn't go all out on that like they did. I mean, even on this core model, that was not an option. That was standard. Oh, and there is one other thing that I absolutely love about this car. You may notice I have IMT on. What that stands for is Intelligent Manual Transmission. And it does a couple main things. First off, when you're taking off from a start, it has an anti-stall feature built in. So if you're not quite giving it enough RPMs, it'll actually add a little bit of RPMs. You can also use it to drive through a parking lot without having to touch the pedal. I guess this Jeep decided they wanted to speed up when they saw me coming. I hate when people do that because it makes me look like the idiot because I'm kind of stuck in the passing lane here, but there's nobody behind me. And now they're slowing down. The other thing the IMT does, forgive me, I tend to get sidetracked, is on downshifting, it will rev match. And it does it very quickly and very well. I really like the way that it does that. So when I get in the car and start it, the first thing I do is I put the intelligent manual transmission on. I don't think there's a way to default it to on, at least not in a factory stock standpoint. But yeah, that's another piece that adds to the overall experience of this car. So yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend one of these. It's also, I'm sure, going to hold its value very well. Right now, since it's so new, it has taken a little bit of a depreciation hit. Sticker price on mine was just a hair under 40. Wholesale is coming in around 37 from what I've seen in terms of, I've just shopped it around a little bit just for fun because I'm always curious about that. But I'm guessing that 37 figure or better will be the same in 5 years from now, even, no matter how many miles I put on this car. It's hard to say. And as of now, I plan on keeping it. Even if I get to a point where I want to give it a break for a while, I've got some storage. I'll just put it in storage, let it sit for a while, and get it back out and enjoy it like new all over again. Or I may drive it the whole time. Who knows? But I really don't think it's going to be worth any less than it is today. We'll see. I mean, time will tell. There's all kinds of weird things going on in the market now. We're just coming off of where a couple years ago you could buy a new car, like an economy car. I did with so many of my Versas, buy it from a dealer at full sticker and then go sell it for a huge profit to like Carvana. That isn't the case anymore, and actually the values are falling off a cliff right now with cars in general. But anyway, okay, I think I've said everything I wanted to say about this car. Any questions or comments, please feel free, and have a great day, everyone.